In the 90s, two theories were floated. The first was that ice cream causes shark attacks, that sharks are attracted to people that eat ice cream. The evidence, a 76% correlation. The other theory floated was that CO2 was causing global warming. The evidence, a smaller 66% correlation. Both theories were proven to be false. But why? How did scientists err? And what have we learned? There were three huge mistakes. First, we will look at why correlation should never be used by scientists to determine cause and effect. The equation for determining potential cause is shown here. No worries, you'll be able to follow this even if you don't like math. The potential cause coefficient only calculates if the variance of climate change, CC, can be explained by any variable, not just CO2. Thus, all you see in the equation is climate change because that is what we are trying to understand and explain. The equation for correlation, R, also includes the variability of CO2 because correlation is looking for similarity, not cause. Ice cream sales might, in one way, be 76% similar to fatal shark attacks, and CO2 might, in one way, be 66% similar to climate change, but neither are a cause. Of the three huge mistakes, this one is inexcusable because all scientists are trained in how to set up a hypothesis to test. Consensus theory is that a doubling of CO2 will cause a 1 to 4 degrees C change in global temperature, or a % change in CO2 will cause an absolute change in global temperature. Not that a specified level of CO2 will cause a specified level of global temperature. Shown are levels of CO2 and global temperature, not changes. To test the theory, we must test changes. The blue line shows yearly changes in CO2. The red line, yearly changes in global temperature. It is easy to see that changes in global temperature precede and cause changes in CO2, but that is a different topic. When the changes are correlated, the 66% correlation goes away and drops to 8%. But it gets worse. The most grievous error was forgetting that cause must precede its effect. If a pot comes to a boil while the stove is off, then the stove, no matter how hard you might believe it, did not cause the pot to boil. Look elsewhere. When changes in CO2 that precede changes in global temperature are tested, it is clear that large increases in CO2 generally cause global cooling, not warming. Yes, cooling. With the three blunders corrected, the correct possible cause coefficient is -10%. That means that changes in CO2 explain 10% of the variation in global temperature, but negatively. CO2 dampens, does not cause, global warming. Now do you understand the inconvenient lie caused by human error, but perpetrated by Al Gore's sect of eco-terrorists? Eco-terrorists? Isn't that a bit extreme? If you can think of a better term to describe Al Gore's policymakers trying to limit oxygen of life, knowing that their policy will brown the earth, limit the food supply for all sea and land life, reduce the habitat for endangered species, accelerate global warming that will create a crisis of rising sea levels, and make the poor poorer, all because of their love of power, well, no. I think using the term eco-terrorist is being way too kind. Let's summarize. 1. Don't use correlation to measure cause. It only measures similarity, like the similarity between you and a sibling. But for cause, use a potential cause coefficient. 2. If a theory says change, and it does, then test changes, not levels. 3. Cause must come before the effect. Test if the cause leads the effect.